Hey everyone, so I just wanted to do a quick video on basically how to start a thrift store online essentially. So I keep getting a lot of questions again and again by different people because of the thrift store that I used to handle, Everything Man Store, but we stopped doing that because we went a different route with the brand. But since so many people have been asking me again and again like how to start a thrift store, I thought I'd just share like a few pieces of like information that was really helpful to me when I started out, because it really isn't a very easy thing to do in terms of how to source the actual products to thrift or resell. So I actually started in Calcutta, and one of the main reasons I found these local vendors was because I went on this really massive search hunt, essentially. Uh, Local markets, the internet, watching YouTube videos, going early in the morning to these flea markets of sorts, essentially, where people put their clothes on pavements or footpaths, essentially. But the places, but what I figured out essentially from doing all of this was that there is a group of people or a distribution center essentially where uh, there are a bunch of people that are importing products from outside of India, primarily Korea and maybe some from the US as well. And they basically come in these big bales essentially. And bales are basically a group of, a certain number of clothing items. And they kind of sell it either by weight or by a certain number essentially. And then what happens is then it goes to a warehouse, and then you have these local vendors that come and kind of then push out distribution essentially. So that's kind of how it works of sorts. In terms of how to find these people, like I think you just have to go to the local market and just be like, hey, I want branded secondhand clothing, where can I find it from? And if you ask enough people, like they'll reach you or they'll connect you to the right people. So for example, in Calcutta, there's a street called Esplanade, and on that street there are like 3 to 4 vendors essentially, which sell these kind of like North Face, like all these different cool like streetwear brands, as well as athleisure brands, Nike, Adidas, Reebok. Like there's just a lot of stuff. You can even find a bunch of cool Carhartt stuff. Like I managed to source a couple of Carhartt pants, which I then sold at a pretty high rate on Grail. So it really depends on like what are on these bales and what the local vendors manage to source. There's also another way that you can go about it, and that is like wholesale, going to wholesalers that are thrifting. So one that I used to use was Super Vintage Thrifts Wholesale, I think. And the guy is super helpful, super nice guy, and he can kind of help start you out, giving you a certain number of pieces. I think his minimum order was, I think 10 to 15,000 minimum order value, and then after that, once you establish a relationship, then you can kind of go back and forth in terms of how much you want to buy and how much he is willing to sell it to you at essentially. So I mean, or the third route, if you really want to do it on like a large scale, what you could do is potentially even source stuff from Europe or America, or maybe another country that has like these massive bales essentially. And there are a lot of these wholesale vintage, so they're basically called vintage wholesalers, and you can primarily find them on Instagram. Like there are a couple of them, like Bulk Vintage Wholesale, Europa Vintage something. Like if you just type vintage wholesale, like I'm sure you're gonna be able to find a bunch of different options and a bunch of different of a bunch of different companies that are doing stuff like this. And but the thing is that in these bales, you're not ever going to be able to choose the products you want, which is why I didn't really go down that route, because I didn't, because one, you have to buy at least, like, I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, like 400 kgs worth of clothes. That just seemed like a lot to me. And the thing is that you pay by kg essentially. So it really depends on how you want to go about it. But it's a very interesting space in terms of what you can do. So there are three ways that you can really go about it, in my opinion, is that you can either become a wholesaler, a reseller, or kind of an aggregator of sorts. So what I mean by aggregator is like you have like a platform where you kind of like Amazon or sorts that have a bunch of different resellers on your platform, and that's basically what Trail is, or Depop, or these other kinds of apps and stuff. So what else can I really tell you guys? So in terms of when I was thrifting, and like I would buy products for around, there were a couple of resellers where I would get products at about $200, $300, and I would sell it at maybe 1,000 to 1,500 within the country. And if it was a hype product that I found by chance, it could even go up to 7,000-8,000 on Trail. So the margins are pretty cool in this business, but you have to work really hard in terms of posting as many different thrifted products every day, and it really is like a full-time job in the sense that to promote things, to actually get people on your IG, to convince people to buy stuff. So yeah, there's so many different Indian thrift stores that have come out right now. The potential is crazy. So I mean, we were primarily doing men's thrifts, but if you were to do women's thrifts, like, and you're in Calcutta, like you can even go to like the Garyahat area, and like they have these wonderful stores where you can kind of just pick stuff up and potentially bring it online. And the thing is that what you have to realize is that people are following this thing because of a certain vibe and aesthetic, and you know, you're basically shopping for them essentially, of sorts. So I mean, definitely engage with them well as well. Like I feel like people don't engage with their audience, like speak to them, ask them questions, ask them what you should pick up, what they need. Like you should be in constant like communication with them. If you guys want, I can like make another video about how to market your Instagram thrift store. That could be interesting. Just comment down below and let me know if that's something you're interested in. Also subscribe, because I think I can like potentially keep doing this and give you guys some good information and stuff like that. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, comment, and let me know what you guys think. Ciao.